Hello everyone, welcome to Lighthouse Stamping with Lorraine. I'm an independent Stampin' Up! Demonstrator in Vancouver, Washington. Thank you for joining me today. Before we get started, a few housekeeping notes. Just want to remind you that the Designer Series paper sale is still going on between now and June 30th at 15% off. There is 13 styles available. I'm not going to go through all of them. You can visit my online store to see all those that are on sale. Or you can send me an email and I will talk to you about them. Also, there is a new starter kit available for $99. You can get $155 worth of product. So if you're interested in joining Stampin' Up! And joining my team, I'd love to talk to you. Remember, you don't have to sell Stampin' Up!, do videos, or have parties or anything. You can just join for the discount and be a happy camper, or stamper, or camper, both, whatever. So anyhow, if you have any questions, please let me know. As we've talked in the past, all the description of all the products I'm using is going to be listed below, all the dimensions. There is a link to my online store if you'd like to purchase that DSP or anything else. There is a link to my Facebook group. We'd love to have you join that. Over on the Facebook group, you can share your projects that you've made. And let's see, remember to like, share, and subscribe on YouTube and help me grow. And there's my email if you have any questions. And you have to excuse me, I have a little bit of a raspy voice this morning. It's, spring, summer, whatever the weather decides to be outside today. Today is more like summer. So let me show you what we're going to be using. We're going to use Pansy Patch. Now, Pansy Patch came out about 1.5 years ago. But I love this set. I don't actually have it. I borrowed this. And so I wanted to play with it. And then I started playing with this and discovered that there was so much you could do with this set. I'm going to be playing with Pansy Patch all week. And I think you'll really like some of the projects we're going to make. So let me show you the first one we're making. We are making this card here. I'm calling this the Pansy Patch Countryside Corner Card. And it opens just like that. I think it's rather sweet. And then there's an envelope, and it does fit an envelope. It's a little smaller than a regular card, but I thought it was very cute. I like doing shaped cards, and I'm going to show you how to do this one. So before we get started, let's do some stamping, because there's a little bit of stamping in this foot. So let me grab my paper. Let me grab my stamping mat. These are photopolymer. And we're going to be using the same colors. We're going to be using Blackberry Bliss, Daffodil Delight, Granny Apple Green, and Lemon Lolly. So we'll get all the stamping done first. So I have actually already stamped all of those pansies. We're not going to watch me do them all, but I'm going to show you how I made each of them. So what I did was playing with color. I'm going to show you what I did. I was playing with different colors and trying to figure out what I liked and didn't like. And I just sort of wrote my little notes. And like Daffodil, I just called Blackberry Bliss, I call Bliss. So I just make little notes. And I wrote down the order I stamped them so I knew what colors when I wanted to go back and make something. And this, I have actually another sheet with a bunch of other colors. But these are the two I ended up doing, was these two colors. And then these leaves here. Okay, so let me show you how to do this. So we're going to start with, now I told you the big flower has 5 parts. There's this one, this one, this one, this one, and that tiny little piece. And we'll talk about him in a little bit. So you got 5 pieces to this particular flower. And I'm starting off as my number 1 piece, the solid piece. Usually I start off at the more detailed, but this one I found the solid was easier for me to work with. So we're going to make the one that has the Blackberry Bliss in it first. We're going to start off with Daffodil Delight. And we're going to use full strength daffodil. Like that. Now I will have to wash these in a few minutes. We'll set the daffodil over there. Next, we need Blackberry Bliss. covered. I have to move it a little bit closer to me. I'll line that up. Like that. Next is the next size down. And if you look at it and you look how it lines up just right perfect in there. And that one I went ahead and put Daffodil in, which I've still got right here. Like that. And the next one I used was this one. And I went back to the Blackberry. This one I just went every other one. I didn't stamp off color or anything. Now, the next piece is supposed to be, and I'm going to show you on the tip of my finger. Hang on here if I can get them picked up. Do you see that stamp? I'm not going to use the stamp. I did on a couple of them, but I found it easier just to use a little marker to do it instead of the stamp. And I'm going to tell you a little story about that stamp. That stamp went on quite a trip. But I'm going to use Daffodil. And I'm just going to come in here and fill in my center with my Stampin' Write marker. If you don't have a Stampin' Write marker in the color you're using, use a blender pen. Get a little ink and you can do it that way. So that is the first flower. The next flower we're making is made with, we're still using the Blackberry Bliss, but it is made with Lemon Lolly and Daffodil. And I do need to clean my stamps real quick here. That's the issue with this one, and it's not an issue, it's just, it's a fact, that if you're going to switch multiple colors like this, you do need to clean off your stamps quite a few times. But it's okay. You set it off to the side, you know. You've seen me do this many times. So we're going to start off with, and I'm referring to my sheet over here so I know what order I stamped them. I stamped so many different ones. I'll grab a paper towel because I got a little too much moisture on my stamping. So we're going to start with this one, Lemon Lolly. And when I'm stamping this, I'm going to tell you the story about that little piece. Well, we'll just say the first day I started playing with this, I had that lovely piece out and I used it several times and I just cleaned it, and that's the Lemon Lolly. I just cleaned it and I put it back on the tiniest little block, you know, my little A block here. And I turned to grab something else, turned back, and it was gone. I could not find that little stamp. Now, that's a little stamp. I'm going to add Daffodil Delight now, full strength. So I looked, I figured it got stuck to a case or something. So I'm looking all over and I'm looking and I'm not finding it. I vacuumed the floor. Thinking I could pick it up in the vacuum if it was in there. I cleaned everything, went through everything. I looked for over 3 hours for that little stamp. Because, of course, I'm looking really hard because I borrowed this. It's not mine. So, a few days passed and I kept on working on different projects and thinking, okay, I'm just going to have to buy a new stamp set for my friend. And then, about 3 days after I lost it, I was in the kitchen. I was feeding the kittens in their wet food in the evening. And after they're done, I always take them, wipe up the floor good. And I'm like, oh, did someone spill something, Jell-O or something out of the refrigerator? Because I seen this little pink blob on the kitchen floor. Now keep in mind, this isn't like 3 rooms away from where I was crafting. And I went over to clean it up, and lo and behold, there was the little stamp sitting on the floor. So, I thought I'd just tell you the cute story about the missing stamp. And that was Blackberry Bliss I put in the center. And then I'm going to grab, this one has Lemon Lolly in the center. I just wanted to tell you, that little stamp is very tiny. It does fall off the block very easily because it is so tiny. Every time you clean it, water, moisture gets in there. So be very careful, or use the pen like I did, which I think works just fine too. So I just thought I'd tell you the story. My fear was that one of the cats had eaten it, and you can only imagine what I had been doing. In fear that one of my kittens had ate this thing. But anyhow, yeah, so it was lots of fun. So you're going to need, depending on how you lay this out, you're either going to need 3 of this one and 2 of this one, or well, actually you need 3 and 3, because whatever you decide, you're going to put 3 on the front of this one and 2 of this one, and 1 goes on the inside, or you're going to do it vice versa, 3 on the outside, 2, and then 1 on the inside. Okay? So you need 3 and 3. Now, while we still got the stamps out and stuff, we need to stamp our verse and we need to stamp our envelope. Oh, that's what we're making. Let me get the plain envelope here real quick. I just had it out here. We need the envelope, and we also need a piece of paper to make our happy birthday. Now, this is a little piece. You could use a bigger piece if you wanted. This is 1 1/2 or 1 3/4 by 3/4 high. It's a tiny piece, and this is our envelope. So in the stamp set, there is these 3, and they are also multi-layered stamping. And we're going to use Daffodil on this and Granny Apple Green. So I'm going to start with my stock. That. Now I'm not doing stamping the leaves. The leaves are stamped just the exact same way. There's two leaves, the bottom layer and the top. I stamped off the Granny Apple Green and for the first layer and full strength on the second. I didn't think you needed to sit and watch me do all of the leaves. And this is the solid piece of this, and I'm going to do this one in Daffodil. And then the inside or darker piece, I'm going to do in Blackberry Bliss. So that's our envelope. The last thing we need to do is stamp our verse. So there's that. And our verse is Happy Birthday. And I did not mount that very straight on that block. Just one moment. Does help if you start with your stamp as straight as possible. And I'm going to use my grid paper here. And I said this is Blackberry Bliss we're going to stamp in. And I'm going to go off to, what did I just do before? Yeah. I'm going to go off to my right as far as I can and center it. That looks good. And we'll send that off to the side for a few minutes. And that is all of the stamping. So, you could bear with me for one moment. I need to bring out my Big Shot now so we can do some die cutting. And I don't particularly want to get my hands into any ink here, and my desk isn't big enough to do both, so I'm just going to do a quick wipe of these so I don't have ink all over my other pieces. So we're going to grab out our Big Shot. Or, in your case, you probably have whatever your large die cutting machine is. Mine's a Big Shot. It's well loved. And you're going to need a piece of, I'm using Daffodil Delight, but you need a piece that is 7.5 by 5.5, and we're scoring at 3 3/4, and we are burnishing there. The side here and do this. Okay. And then I'm going to grab the Countryside dies, and we are grabbing the largest one. We're actually going to use the largest one and the next size down, so I'll grab both of them. But the largest one is the one we're using first. What you're wanting to do is to make this card is the cutting, you can see where your cutting piece is right here. Put it so it's just outside of, first I better take off one plate before I line it all up. Cut it so your cutting blade. So basically you're just butting this edge up right against your cardstock, but not over it. Make sure you're up there straight as you can get. And you can make any shaped card you want. I've made all kinds of different shapes. Long as the die is symmetrical, it works pretty well. What do you use? I have some oversized Post-its here, but I want to make sure it doesn't move on me. And then we're going to die cut that. So we're cutting through 2 thicknesses of cardstock. So I am going to run it back. Now I got a few marks on mine, and it doesn't matter. There's a few marks on the front of it because we're going to cover it. But anyhow, this is how it opens, like that. So that was the large one. So I'm going to get this out of our way real fast because I have cut most of the other pieces, and I will tell you which ones I used. So we have this. Now this is not a full size square, and I wanted mine to be square of the corner, so I have made another one to go over the top because it's just off a little bit, and it's to me it looked nicer to have it covered, so it was the exact size I wanted. So the first thing we're going to do is adhere this to the front of this. That's why I said if there's some marks or something on it, it didn't make any difference. And line this up. Make sure everybody's nice and straight. Just like that. For the inside, I took the second size down, this one, and I cut out a piece of Whisper White, and it's going to get mounted in here like this. And of course, we know you're going to have this one. You have nice big margins. Now this one's going to be a little narrower because your piece, you cut off a little piece. But you can't see it from, you know, you can tell from here. But it's off just a little bit. It's fine. The next thing I wanted is I wanted some texture. I wanted to use Blackberry Bliss, but I wanted some texture to go behind my flowers. So what I did was I grabbed the painted texture. I love this one, and so I grabbed it and cut the second one down and ran it through the embossing folder, and it gets glued down. Just like that. Next we need flowers. So like I said, to save us time, I have die cut. I stamped and die cut all the leaves and flowers. We're gonna have a few extra. And I'll probably have a few extra here too. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to decide which ones I want. Now last time I did 3 of the dark and 2 of the light. I think this time we'll swap it around and we'll do 3 of the light and 2 of the dark and see how that one looks. Just one moment. So, and so I'm just going to pick out my flowers here and make sure my fingers aren't wet, which I'm getting. I'll skip that one. My finger was wet and I just smudged. If your fingers get wet, you will smudge your ink. And this one about like that. Looks pretty good. And then we have a bunch of leaves that we'll stick in a few minutes. So if I'm using these on the outside, I think we'll put one of these on the inside, the darker ones. So let's put some dimensionals on these 5. And this one. We'll just stick him down in the corner like that. And you could put a leaf in there if you wanted. So, and I'll grab some dimensionals. And I'm just going to put 1 dimensional in each of these. And we're going to start with yellow. About right there. I found either start at the top or the bottom. Now keep in mind, you can go over this. You got plenty of room in your envelope. So if you go over, it will not hurt anything. So we got a darker one now. I'm going to turn that one a little bit. Oop. I'll save him for a second and I'll show you why. I must add something on my fingers. Put that about middle. I'll turn him a little bit like that. And this one, I got a little bit of pink on it, or ink, so I did, my fingers were wet. I'm just pulling the dimensional off so it doesn't stick. And grabbing a different one. Like I said, I had some water, I must have been from my scrubber, on my finger, and I touched a couple of them, and I don't want them messed up. So about like that. And then I made the leaves, like I said, was out of Granny Apple Green, stamped off the first layer and full strength on the second. So now we're just going to go in here and start tucking some leaves underneath here. This is what's nice, is you do have all that extra room in your set there, so you can go off the page and be just fine. Yeah, I'm gonna bring this back in for a second here. I'm just setting him here right now because I don't want to get too much greenery, so I'm going to put him right in here. This one there, and that should be good. Just seeing where that was going, so I didn't have a collision of the. And you can put as many leaves as you want. Like I said, I'm letting him lean over a little bit. I need one more small one here. Okay. So what I'm going to do with this is I'm going to make a very tiny, shallow snipping from the sides, make a little banner like that. And I'll put that on dimensionals. Like I said, this is not an easy or a difficult card. It's just cute. And I'm going to line this up to the edge of my yellow. So then I looked at it and I thought, it needs some bling. So got flowers. Gotta have butterflies. So I'll put one here. I think I'll put a big one. Move that paper there. Put a nice big one there. And I'll put a nice big one down here. Like that. So that is our Pansy Countryside Corner card. So I think it's rather cute myself. I hope you liked it. Hope you give it a try. But you can do this with any shape you have. You could do it with the rectangle, rectangles, you know, anything. It doesn't have to be, you know, whatever. So we have 2 cards. So this is the difference. This is yellow, you know, just the opposite colors. This one has a yellow one inside, and this one has the berry bursting yellow. So, thank you for joining me today. Remember to like, share, and subscribe. If you need to order any supplies or some of that lovely DSP that's on sale, please visit my online store. And I will see you on Wednesday. And we're going to play with more pansies, but we're going to build our pansies with cardstock. So I'll see you then. Thank you for joining me. Goodbye.